guys, and welcome back to In Deep, where we discover the talent, challenges, and inspiration behind some of the best film, television, games, and advertising. My name's Ross, and if you haven't seen any of these before, go back and watch a few of the others. As you can tell, I'm currently broadcasting from the wonderful streets of Walthamstow in London. Today with me, I have Ben McIlveen. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing that right. Who's a VFX flame artist at Unit. He's currently sitting on hold. But before we do that, I'm going to actually just give you a quick little peek about where to find him. Make sure that you go and investigate Unit and Ben's other work to see more about him, whatever's not covered today. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'll give you a quick yell in a sec. But first, unit.tv is where you can find him these days. Their Instagram as well is worth a follow. Unit_studios, which you can find right there. And Ben, also, very modestly, I just kind of stalked him, and you can go and find him on Instagram. He might not even really use it, but Ben McIlveen. Right there, you can find him there. So, and then also, if you want to find out even more about him, you can go and check out his IMDb right there, which has a lot more of his long form stuff that he's worked on, things there. So first of all, shout out to everybody in the chat. Hello to Billy. Hey Billy, how's it going? Billy, who did the background graphics of the intro that you just saw, actually. Billy, hello. Ed, Nick, Lily, everybody else who's the usual, hello and welcome. Definitely get your questions in because we'll do that. And now, I guess, without further ado, I would like to welcome Ben to the stream. Ben, welcome. There you are.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Yeah, really well, thank you.
Where are you at the moment?
I'm just in nothing very glamorous, unfortunately. I'm just in my spare room of my flat in Tooting in South London.
Oh, nice. Tooting. Yeah, I used to live down there. How's Tooting?
Oh, yeah.
How's Tooting at the moment?
Well, I've just been out. I've got a little roof terrace on my flat, so I've just been out in the sun for most of this. Well, from midday to about an hour ago. So just trying to enjoy as much as the weather as possible. I think you've got to make the most of it, haven't you? In these times of lockdown and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, sunshine, no thank you. Nein danke. I'm very happy within this. I'm just sweating. I'm gonna towel down in between segments. But I'm very jealous of you guys that are enjoying it, because we're in for a very strange and weird lockdown within the house. But Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
thank you for having me.
We briefly chatted before about your story, where I would like to begin way back at the beginning. You mentioned how your mother dragged you into production and how you hated it at first. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how you got here to be where you are today?
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to what we were speaking about, I think the other day, yesterday or so, or day before, when we had a small chat. Basically, my mum works in TV, so when I was younger, it used to be me and my mum. So she worked in TV, and obviously all the long hours and overtime and stuff that entails. So a lot of the time, if it was in holidays, now and again, I'd have to go to work with my mum, and be on shoots and things like that, or just being in the office, bored out of my brains. So I kind of developed a bit of an animosity towards this industry at a very young age. But look what happened. I work in the industry I used to hate. So so I think some of my earliest memories are, I remember being in Molinaire, probably. I think if it was Molinaire back then, but basically where Molinaire is in Soho, that's a post-production company. So I just remember being in there, sitting in the dark in an edit suite. I couldn't even do my colours. So I didn't really get on with it too well.
And so what was your turning point?
Well, I'd always kind of, since the age of about 15, I'd always kind of got, like, my mum had got me a summer job or something as a runner, or doing this and that in the industry. I think I'd I'd go on shoots and be a runner on a shoot, or I'd be a runner in an office or something in Soho. So yeah, and then I went to university, and I studied environmental science and geography. I wanted to be a conservationist originally, but I think through studying the subject, I kind of realised that unless something drastic happens, I think we're on a. I mean, I don't want to get too deep for a Wednesday afternoon, but I think I just learned that I thought that there's nothing's going to. I wanted to change. I was like the original kind of Greta Thunberg when I was a kid, basically. Well, I had that in my mind. I wasn't as active as she was, but I wanted to be a conservationist, and I just learned through studying it that I don't think we're ever going to save the world. So I kind of was a bit disillusioned when I finished university. My mum just said, just get a job as a runner. So I got a job as a runner at a post-production facility, because I used to do, when I was in my early teens, or I would say mid to late teens, I used to do loads of DJing in like nightclubs and on radio and stuff like that. So I wanted to maybe get into sound design or something like that, or mixing or something like that. So that was kind of my angle. I enjoyed it. I didn't get paid much money, but I really enjoyed it. It was a great group of people, and it was an exciting time. Early 2000, early to mid 2000s, I guess it was. So yeah, it was quite exciting. How old was I? I think I was like 21 or something. Being a runner in Soho, I just really enjoyed it. And then I didn't really, I never kind of wanted to get into this industry, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So yeah, I just kind of got in a job as a runner, and when I was a runner, there was a kind of a track system to progression. So you had to go to the library next, to be a junior in the machine room. So yeah, luckily I didn't become a librarian. I managed to miss that part. So then I just got a job in the machine room as a junior, and then what was I into? Then I kind of got jumped over in promotion for getting into the audio thing. So it kind of really put a damper on the audio thing for me. And then the next kind of thing that I was interested in was grading, really, because I don't know what attracted it to me. I think they had the most champagne, and they had
you just had access to champagne more than any other role?
Well, whenever they finished the job, as a runner, you had to go out and get them a bottle of champagne. So I just thought, that was like the coolest thing to do. So, and there was also, coming from a background of doing science, I think working with film, a lot of it was on film then. Well, the majority of it was on film for commercials anyway. So there's a kind of, art meets science kind of thing with film, isn't there? There is a scientific process to it, lenses and stuff like that, and then the whole telecine process of turning film back into video. There's a science side to it, so I guess that appealed to me as well.
Oh, nice. And so, your career has sort of seen you move between being an editor and a colorist and a VFX artist. I mean, can you tell us, was that move then from being a colorist into doing smoke and flame? Was that an organic thing, or was that a conscious choice that you made? And why did you leave color behind? I know that color plays a big part in a lot of your work still, but why did you become specialized in that?
Well, so I mean, I think basically. So the progression for when I was at this company called Blue was you started as a runner, then you were a junior in the machine room, and then, I mean, this is 10, 15 years ago or something, a lot of work was done in linear editing suites for finishing jobs. So that was all tape to tape. You have big vision mixers, an edit controller, and stuff like that. And so then I had to do a bit of that for a while. And then after that, I got a job as a telecine assistant when one became available. So then I started assisting the grading suites and stuff like that. And then can't remember exactly what happened. I think they dropped off a grading suite, so they only needed, or they worked out they only needed one assistant. So they dropped me back to being an online assistant. So then I got another job at another company called Midnight Transfer, and they used to do feature films. So they did rushes, like dailies. Do you know about dailies?
Yeah.
So do I need to describe it for everyone?
Describe them.
Just a bit of background for it. So dailies are basically everything a film shoots, like on a big film production they shoot. You know, as soon as it's they wrapped up for the day, it gets sent to the laboratory, it gets processed in the laboratory, and then it gets sent to a telecine house to transfer back onto tape, so they can send it back out to the editors. Because I mean, when was this? It was about 2007. So, you know, a lot of stuff, it was all still film and tape based, you know, it wasn't really exclusively digital. So, yeah, they said then you transfer it to tape, from film, and you give it a little grade to make it look nice, not too much though, and then you'd send it back out to the editing house for them to edit it, and then the director could look at the dailies for the day and see if he wanted to reshoot, or her, sorry, I do beg my pardon, if they wanted to reshoot anything the next day. So so that was really full on, but good fun as well. You know, so I what did I do dailies for? I think like Golden Compass, the second Batman film. What's that? The Dark Knight.
Nice. Wow.
So some quite big studio films. 10,000 BC, I think, was the one that we did as well. And then off the back of that, they did DIs, digital intermediates, which is, maybe I should describe that as well. So digital intermediate is, so it's basically you digitize all the film that you need for the actual film from when you get the edit list from the editors. So you just digitize everything you need from the film. So, you know, back in the old days, film was constructed by, they were cutting the neg and putting the film together from cutting the neg, whereas this takes that out of the equation and you're just using it. So, you know, that is a digital part of it. And then they color grade it and put titles on and stuff like that. So they did that at the same time. And then, I mean, I really enjoyed that. That was good fun. It was great seeing, you know, I mean, for example, Dark Knight was a really big film, and seeing that come from, you know, you just watch the mute rushes, you know, and then go and see the final film. See, we didn't do the digital intermediate for that at Midnight Transfer, but, you know, so, you know, it was good and interesting. And, I think long hours, though. I think I used to start work, I think the first bath used to come out of the first batch of negatives, so I used to come out of the bath at about midnight. So I used to start work at 3 o'clock in the morning till midday for about weeks at a time, which was pretty full on.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So how do you? Sorry, carry on.
No, so then I did that for a while, and then we got taken over by another company. Oh, it's a real journey. It's making me even try to remember all of this stuff. So we got taken over by another company, and things weren't great for me. So I left and I went freelance for a year, just working in a machine room at JWT, the advertising agency. So, you know, and then after that, then I got a job as a junior colorist after that at Prime Focus. So, you know, that was really good. I was really happy about that. And I was kind of doing rushes again because I was a junior, and I was doing loads of stuff at the British Film Institute and the Imperial War Museum. Okay. So obviously, you know, they have all their archives on film from, you know, going back to, I mean, Imperial War Museum goes back to, you know, the First World War. Yeah. So, and then BFI, they used, you know, I don't know if you've ever been on the BFI website, but they have this thing called Media Tech, where they kind of digitize old films, you know, and it might be documentary kind of style things, and so just a whole myriad of things. So I'd be transferring those to tape, but then grading them at the same time to make it all look nice. So then they could, I mean, sometimes they made DVDs from them, or, you know, they put them on their website. And then, I mean, yeah, it's just loads of stuff with film, basically, transferring film and preserving it, and then also doing rushes, as I said, and the odd little kind of job that I was picking up off the back of things, like I think I did a couple of music promos and things like that. But I think after a while, I just found I didn't really enjoy it. I just, yeah, I think it's very subjective. I think grading, and I just maybe I didn't. I think you have to be quite confident in your own abilities, and you need to set. I think a lot of the time it's a sell-in with grading, especially the kind of creative side of things. You've got to sell in your artistic ability, and I mean, how old was I? I think I was about late 30s, late 20s, sorry. And I think I just didn't have the confidence to do it, really. I think that's why I didn't enjoy it. So then we also used to do films here at Prime Focus. So I moved across into working on films, still doing a tiny little bit of grading here and there, but helping to finish films, doing digital intermediates, going back to what I was talking about earlier. So then, through doing that, I picked up a bit of smoke, which you can do. They used to do titles on it and rollers and various little bits and pieces, little VFX fixes that I just kind of I was just gradually building up more kind of VFX-y kind of stuff in smoke, more simple kind of stuff. And then I got a job at Technicolor, being an online editor on Flame for feature films. So yeah, I mean, that was a progression from I think everything I'd done before, and then it was a bit of a leap, not too much, but
just a mini leap, a hop, if you will,
a mini leap. And so then I was working on feature films, online editing it. So I don't know, should I explain the difference between online editing?
Yeah, we can do, but first of all, could you just how would you describe the role of a flame artist? Like, what does a flame artist do?
I think it encompasses a lot. I think there's the whole VFX kind of side of things, which is you're compositing and stuff like that. But then there's a whole other side of it. You're finishing it, so you're online editing things as well. So you're making sure. I mean, for commercials, you're making sure it adheres to the broadcast standards that, say, for Clearcast, who run commercials in the UK, it has to adhere to those standards. So, I don't do an audio mix, but I drop the audio on from the audio session, and then I have to make sure, like the audio levels aren't peaking, like all the colours are legal, So there's a creative side to it, and then there's also a kind of a more technical kind of side to it as well. Making sure all the titles are in title safe, because obviously everyone has different televisions with different aspect ratios and stuff. So, you want to make sure everyone can see the text on all their tellies. So it's kind of, it's technical things, it's creative things with the compositing. And then I guess there's kind of client management and kind of building up client relationships and, working with clients, working with directors, helping them to get the best possible outcome from what they want to do within their budget. So, it's everything. And then it also goes back to, you say you're doing a shoot that does have some VFX into it. Obviously, the director and the producer of the commercial, for example, they want to know that what they're going to shoot is going to work for you later on. So you get involved in the pre-production, kind of like coming up with solutions to their problems and how to make things work in the post, and also even sometimes going on set to help make sure everything runs smoothly on set as well, and then also being a resource for the director and the DOP and everyone else on set. Do you often get a chance to visit those sets, and what are the sort of challenges and sort of the speed bumps or potential issues that you typically see in productions that you try to I imagine cut off problems before they happen, right? Yeah, Yeah, I guess it's, you want to try and plan everything as thoroughly as possible because, if you've only got a day to shoot a 30-second commercial, you've got to get, maybe 15, 20 shots, in a day, which is quite a lot. And yeah, so there's loads of things. I mean, I think the advert that you're showing at the moment that I worked on, I mean, that was a 3-day shoot in Spain with models, sets, everything. As you can see, I think it's doing a little VFX breakdown thing at the moment. You can see, I mean, some of the sets didn't have a ceiling that we had to put in. And then, I mean, for example, on this commercial, we did a big plan with the directors. And as soon as I went onto set, which was in Spain, obviously there was a language barrier that, had to kind of overcome. And then...
Did you learn Spanish?
Sorry. I didn't learn Spanish, no. Fortunately, there was enough people that spoke English. And it's obviously the director spoke English. But, I mean, that was a big challenge. We planned it in a certain way. And when I got there, they had a certain budget, so we planned it. And then when I got there, I mean, the directors wanted to shoot in a completely different way. So, and for example, when I got there, they had anamorphic lenses, and we hadn't spoken about using anamorphic lenses, which I don't know if anyone knows about anamorphic lenses, but you get lots of lens distortion and stuff like that. So before you do compositing, you have to correct the lens distortion and then flip it back after you've done the compositing. So that was a major thing to get over. And a lot of the shots were meant to be locked off, but then they decided they want to do it on a dolly. And, so it's kind of being able to...
So it's at least flagging potential knock-on effects that'll affect the process later on. That.
Yeah. And then, for example, I was on a shoot in February, and they had a smoke machine, and all of a sudden the wind dropped. So the smoke just wouldn't dissipate. So they were kind of like, it was getting dark. They only had they could only do one more shot. So we waited for the smoke to clear. And because they weren't going to smoke up the set, you could see the smoke machine. So there and then the director said to me, Ben, can you get rid of that? Otherwise, we're going to have to do something. And they didn't really have time to do anything. So, at that point, I was like, tentatively, I was like, yes, I can. And luckily I could. But, so you've got to be there as a kind of a resource. And in that case, I mean, it saved well, I don't want to sound like it was all me, but that was a crucial kind of do or die moment. And that kind of saved the shoot. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get the last shot in the day. So, yeah, so it's, being there for people, supporting people, and giving your, 10 pence if anyone wants to hear it.
But yeah, I imagine that happens a lot. But a lot of your work is also, I imagine, creating or amending tiny details that sort of seamlessly integrate or enhance the image. Is it more satisfying just when people notice your handiwork or when they don't?
For example, well, I guess if people don't notice, that's a good thing, for the little kind of subtleties. I mean, if you've done something massive like, but I guess, visual effects should look real, I guess, at the end of the day, shouldn't they, I suppose? So if they don't notice it, it's all the better, really. So, yeah. Cool. I mean, I think you're going through this commercial that you've got on at the moment, and there's so many little things in there that you don't notice, like removing upholstery from the car to make it look perfect, because I think they hadn't finished the design of it yet. It was still hadn't been released. So the prototype kind of car that they had didn't have the right upholstery, so you had to change the upholstery. And you wouldn't notice that really, I don't think, unless Do you look at? I don't look at upholstery and car adverts that much particularly.
Well, I mean, I know they're very specific especially about models and things that are available in the series. So that must be a real bugbear. But I mean, this is a prime example of why I know we discussed before of why I love VFX breakdowns, because especially when they're done so well, it's like you need it begs you to watch them over and over and over again, spotting all the tiny details that are within them, and I absolutely love it. I mean, I think that attention to detail mixed with creativity is something that's very fascinating to me as a thing. And so I imagine that must be part of your character and stuff. Are you a details man?
Well, I think, I think you have to be. That's part of the job. You can't. I think being a flame op, there's a lot of times it will come to, time to play out the commercial. I mean, it's happened to me loads of times. You've been working on something for 3 weeks, a month maybe on a commercial, doing all the shots, and then you're just about to play it out, and you notice something that no one else has noticed, and probably no one will notice other than yourself. But you know that you need to fix it because otherwise it's going to bug you. So yeah, I think I think you naturally have to have attention to detail. I think to be a flame op because it's even like say for example, what was I doing? Sometimes you might have a campaign where you have to make 200 versions of one commercial. In various for Instagram, for YouTube. And you might you're probably bored senseless of it by the 200 version, but you still have to maintain that level of quality. So you do have to have attention to detail. And I think unfortunately I think it does engulf your life. I think I mean I always double check everything nowadays. I double check I close the door when I leave the house. I double check. Do because I think through my job, being when you're it's kind of things are on your head, so you want to make sure everything goes out right. So you double check everything, probably treble check everything. If someone reminds you about something, you'll check it again. Yeah, so I think you do, and I think it takes over your whole life, unfortunately. Yeah.
I'm just going to take a little moment there, say hi to everybody in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, Ludo. Ludo, who is the head of VFX at DNEG, is actually in the audience. Thank you very much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Ed's asked a question: which colors are illegal? I guess that's a question that a layman just will not understand. Tell us a little bit about that, if you can bear.
Well, every kind of bit of equipment that will show an image, I guess, has a colour space. Be it a projector in a cinema, your TV, your computer. I think illegal colours mainly apply, I would say, in TV. So, for example, in HD, don't want to bore everyone with this too much, with the techie stuff too much. I think it's like possible. But say, for example, on a normal HTV, it has a colour space called Rec 709, and everything that's broadcast needs to be within Rec 709. It's like, I don't know. Have you ever seen colour gamuts? This is where arts meets science.
This is heavy. This is some heavy shit. Ed, I'm going to mute your question. We can get into that in a little sidebar of secret tech.
It might be, to make it simple, you have a colour range like Rec 709, and if colours are too bright or too saturated and they fall outside that range, they're illegal colours, basically.
Okay.
And the reason why you have the reason why you stop illegal colours is because, I mean, it could, if you have something that's super bright, it might damage a television or something, I could imagine, or something like that. Although I've never heard of it actually happening in real life, but that's supposedly the reason why.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's good to know. Just something to be worried about. I mean, maybe I don't know if that's still a concern when you're publishing things for that. If that's regulated in the same kind of way. I've yet to know about that. But tell me, how do you feel like your style or taste or your craft has changed since you began? Do you feel like there is a distinct change when you look back at yourself over these years and think, oh well, this is very different. I've got a very different sensibility or set of skills compared to that, apart from the obvious ones, obviously.
I don't know. I think plugins for it and stuff like that. There's a whole community online that people that do that. So there's always new little tricks and tips. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I've never really thought of having a style particularly, but I would say. What I do know that I've definitely, I think, the more you learn in Flame, the more skills you can put under your belt, so to speak. the more you can solve problems more easily. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? And I've definitely noticed that, now I've got, quite a bit of experience. I think, as opposed to 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, when I was first getting into it, you'd show me something and I wouldn't be able to work out how to do it as easily as I can now, and I might go and ask someone. I was like, oh, I'm really stuck on this shot. I can't work out how to do this bit. But I would say, this comes with, everything comes with experience, I suppose, like this. Whereas now, you can just look at, I just look at something and be like, that is how I'm going to do it, right. As opposed to, spending 2 or 3 hours working out how I'm going to do it. I don't know. That's kind of what I've noticed.
Yeah, I guess reverse engineering is something that's I love looking at it. I think that's probably what makes breakdowns and things work, or when you can study an image and then mentally understand how to do it. Is very fascinating stuff. Did you have any heroes or mentors sort of coming in into the post-production side that you looked up to, and or did you just come in blind?
I mean, I don't know. As I say, going back to it, I never really, I did well. I guess I fell into the job to a degree, but then I just found my own path. I think I could go back to going to secondary school, and you have inspirational teachers at school. So yeah, I wouldn't say, I've been like, I definitely want to work with this person, but I think, people that have trained me and I've learned stuff of, yeah, definitely. I look up to them, and there's probably quite a few people here to mention, but just people, more senior people that are in the industry, definitely I find inspirational. And it's really nice, which is something I try and do. There are some people that are a lot more guarded in their talent and their skill and a lot more closed, whereas some people that are really open. Enjoyed working with and most from and inspired me.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite collaborators that you've continued to work with over the years?
No, I don't think. As I say, I've moved around quite a bit, So I think. Now I've been working in Flame kind of 5 years. 6 years. So obviously I used to work in features before I moved over into commercials about 4 years ago. So I was in commercials in features for about 3 years. And I don't know. It's really bad. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember names. But I used to work with with the same kind of people all the time.
No, that's all right. What have you found that you enjoy more, at least at this moment, or the elements within the shorter form that you enjoy that are different to long form?
I think you in feature films you can really get bogged down in them, because especially studio films that they're all about making money as opposed to. Well, obviously there is a craft and an art to them, but I think when a studio has spent 60, $90 million plus on a film, they want to make money, and I think that kind of sucks the life out of them to a degree. So when I used to work on feature films, one of the things that I really wanted to work on features, I wanted to get my name on some credits, that will stand there forever, so to speak. But for example, I don't want to name any of the films I worked on, but some of them have been stuck in post for like a year, 2 years.
Right.
They're just constantly re-editing them. They go back for reshoots, and and that's one of the things that turned me off working in films. Really, that I wanted something where the turnaround was a lot faster, and you get to work with more people. So say when I was working in films. Sometimes I'll be working on a film for a year. So, you're not really working with that many people. And one film I was working on, I did slow-mos, motion smoothing kind of slow-mos for 9 months. And that's all I did. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to move over into commercials. And I think in commercials, as I say, going back to being on set, there's always, you can go on set as well, which is really interesting and good. It's a good experience, and you learn, and you're there with the DOPs, with the directors. So, even, so sometimes, if it's a VFX shot, you might chip in and you'd be directing the actors to get the best result for what you need to do afterwards, and you'd be helping out directors. So I think working with, so now I've moved over into commercials. I think, I just like it. There's a lot faster turnaround, and you're doing loads of more different things, and the job's a lot more variable. So that's what I like about commercials.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. At least it's fresh challenges. Maybe it's not on such a grand, epic scale necessarily all the time, but that faster turnaround can be stimulating and exciting as a challenge on its own.
Yeah. It's more, as you're going back to collaborators and stuff like that, I think, which is something I'm in the process of doing now, is, now I moved to a new company, because I used to work in an agency before I worked at Unit. So you always work kind of with the same people in an agency. They had a small post facility. So you're kind of always working with the same people, whereas now I'm moving across back into a post house. I think now is the time that I want to start, developing those relationships and working, trying to work with people all the time. Yeah. The same people that you enjoy working with.
Absolutely. Hi to Aveline and Kathy Wang. Lovely to see you guys again. Always a pleasure to see. And Lily asks, what project are you most proud of so far, and why? Or do you have a current favourite that you have in mind?
Project I'm most proud of. I don't know. I think.
Or several. Yeah, you don't have to pick a favourite.
I think the special that's playing at the moment was, that was a 3-day shoot in Spain. It was really tricky. There's loads of VFX in that, and that was. I just did that with another flame up called Simon Hall. So it was 2 of us working for about 6 weeks on that. There was loads to do, and I mean that. After finishing that was, that was something I was really proud of, just because there was so much work that went into it. But then, I think working on features was great for me as well. Just getting your name on the end of something that stands the test of time, I think, is, makes you feel really proud. Yeah. It's quite an achievement. So I think I worked on. I don't know. I think it's probably like the independent films that I've worked on that I've preferred, because I think I worked on a film called Daphne. It was just a really nice, simple film, and I think that won a few BAFTAs, maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, but I think working on the independent things is what I'm most proud of, because that's when you actually sit with the director and come up with some solutions to their problems, whereas the big studio films, you're just a cog in the machine, really. Yeah. So many people involved.
Yeah. I suppose it's difficult to leave or feel that you own at least a little a respectable piece of the contribution, because it's such a big, like you said, it's such a big piece. It's 90 minutes. It's more, you imagine you're working on a few shots, whereas you could probably have more ownership on something like something in the short form space. I do ask this question of everybody that comes on here, and I would love to know for you, because of course you've had such a long and varied career. Is there any advice that you would give your younger self, quite specifically you, if you were to do this all over again? Would you say, you'd be like, stick with the environmental science?
I don't know. I would say, I think I wished I'd have got into flame earlier. But I think, I just,
and also on that, I want follow up at the end of that. I want to know why you love flame so much.
I think, I just wish I'd have got into flame. I think when I first did it, it was when I first saw flame, when I was a runner and a junior in the machine room, it seemed a bit scary. And the assistants were all quite, I don't know, not intimidating, but they were kind of a little bit cliquey, and I don't know, it just never was really on my radar for a long time, until I kind of started using smoke. So I kind of wish I got into flame earlier on, really. Right. So what was the last bit? Sorry.
Could you tell me actually on smoke? Could you just, because I'm completely ignorant of what smoke is and the details of flame. I would love to know more. But could you tell me the difference between smoke and flame, and why is flame a natural progression from a smoke artist?
So they're both made by the same company, Autodesk, who do like Maya and a load of other programs, and they do the kind of architectural AutoCAD and stuff like that. So so smoke is kind of just a more kind of, well, the kind of a diet version of flame, I guess. It doesn't have the functionality that flame has. Flame has a lot more kind of compositing, VFX kind of features, whereas smoke, I guess, is more kind of online, just for online editing. Well, you know, you can do VFX in it as well, but it's, you know, you don't have particles and you know, lots of the higher end kind of features that you can do in flame.
Yeah, cool. Ed's actually just. Oh, sorry. Carry on. You had a thought there. What were you?
I think to answer your question of why I love flame, I think, again, going back to what I said earlier, it's kind of, you know, there's a technical side of it. Like, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's kind of arts meets science in a way, and that's kind of what appeals to me about it, because I think art, you know, not talking about myself, but I think art and science are linked in many ways across the board. So yeah, I think that side appeals to me. And you know, you're always learning in flame. Going back to what I was saying earlier, there's always something to learn, knowledge to share. Yeah, which is what I enjoy about it. There's always something to learn.
Yeah, always good for progression. Ed asks, and this is a pretty good question. Ed asks, I'd love to know more about the work you do on less obvious VFX heavy Priviers and Daphne. Could you walk us through some of the touches and work that you did in that?
Yeah. So I mean, it's surprised that even in something that doesn't look like it has VFX in it, it has quite a lot done to it. So for example, in 45 years, there was loads of things like just like little things, like more cleanup kind of VFX type stuff, like, you know, removing light switches from walls. There was a lot of booms in shots, like removing shadows from walls of crew. They shot quite a bit of stuff in cars, so it was like doing some really tricky stabilizing in cars. So yeah, and then I think 45 years. So then, you know, it's like doing a roller. I mean, that's not very glamorous, making a credit roller. Yeah. But then I think for example, going back to Daphne, there was quite a lot of visual effects work that's just real. I think what I have to do, I had to make someone look like they were bleeding on the floor, and then remove the, you know, they had some blood that was coming out from special effects on set, so I had to remove the blood tube that you could see in the shot, and then, you know, egg it up a little bit of blood pool on the floor. And then it's just real things that you would never notice, like removing reflections, removing weird things, like things you can see in the backgrounds of shots, like someone's walking across in the background miles away.
So like it's like moving image Photoshop, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of, you know, obviously. There's like some kind of green screen compositing and stuff like that. But a lot of the time in flame for commercials, it is just stuff like that. It's making everything look, you know, amazing and flawless. So it will be things like, you know, removing road signs, removing a drain on a road, or, you know, it goes down that much, you know. Yeah. So yeah, loads of things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes, I guess that's the beauty of it, is everybody who's involved in the production. I'm sure that the directors and DOPs notice it the most, but it's when you're just putting that sort of flawless polish on things. I'm sure it's quite a thankless job, but a lot of the time, but it's very much appreciated, and it's something that's absolutely fascinating to me. I'd love to know more. I'd love to come in and check out what if a day in the life of a flame artist would be. Maybe you guys let me come down.
There's a lot of time spent on your own. It's not that glamorous.
I'm sure but
you're welcome to come in if you want to come and spend a day, or, you know, probably half a day before you get to.
I absolutely love it. Actually, Ludo, who's on the stream, he does a lot of digital matte painting. lessons on this channel. You should actually check it out, guys. I've got it in the recommended channels list. You should go check that out. And I just love seeing artists, because obviously I'm not an artist myself, but I just really love geeking out and learning how that is, because again it informs the rest of the production, as you said, whether it's on the shoot, it's like if you're saying, oh well, there's a dolly thing, then we need to compensate for that movement. It's not motion tracked. We need to like track objects in here. I mean, much like I think you can obviously see that a lot in the Bertoni thing that you have here of all the elements and things that go into it. I did especially love the pizza crust replacement there. I imagine that was maybe a request by the client of a perfect crust.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you spotted that, because that was pretty hard work.
Because I had to watch it a few times. So I was like, "What's he done here?" Because the wipe comes. It's coming up now, guys.
Well, I mean,
watch it.
Yeah. In that, I mean, even when you see the pizza cooking in the oven, that was an amalgamation of about 3 pizzas and a still image as well, and then the kind of browning of the crust is all after the fact. That wasn't on set, so yeah, that's much work went into that shot. So yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. I think that shot with the clocks on, I had to clean all the clock handles off and then animate about 200 clocks. So I mean,
yes.
Again, that shot is on for 5 seconds, I think, and it took 2 weeks to do.
Oh my god, that is absolutely crazy, but also so worth it. There we go. Here's the clock shots coming up right here now. Great. I mean, I guess that's the benefit of having you involved early on. Is within those elements, instead of somebody going, hang on, we need to change those clock faces every single time, or was it very much a thing, leave the clock faces off and I'll fix it in post?
Well, I wanted to get them to take it off, but the art department, I don't think they had enough time, and they were all kind of antique clocks that they borrowed, so they didn't want to be messing around with them too much, because I was pushing for them to take all the clock hands off, but they couldn't. But it would even go, being on set, it would even, go into such kind of, it'd be like, let's make sure that bench is properly clean before they put the pizzas on it, and make sure the floor's hoovered. So, because that's something that I know that I might have to clean up. So, folded a bit more nicely, because I know that's probably something I'm going to have to fix later down the line. So yeah, it might not necessarily be something massive. It's probably all the kind of minute attention to detail, which again goes back to talking about attention to detail.
Yeah. Got a few more questions here. One from Billy Glow asking, "Hi Ben, which software are you using in particular situations?" I guess besides Flame, is there anything else that you particularly use or lean on quite commonly?
Well, as I say, I'm mainly in Flame, but kind of what other things do I use? Obviously, I mean, as I say, I was a grading assistant, so I've never learnt Photoshop. I know that's
interesting.
Being honest, admission, yeah. So I mean, obviously we use Photoshop to do kind of stuff as well. I don't do it, but someone else does the Photoshop. So we do use Photoshop. But then I'm trying to think. I use Mocha, the tracking software, quite a lot. I'm a real fan of that, because you can integrate that in Flame. So I use Mocha a lot, which I don't know if many other Flame ops use it, but I really like it. And I've kind of, again, this is a little tip I gleaned off someone else. I've got a really good way of integrating Mocha tracks and Flame tracks. Anyway, that's for another chat.
Tip line.
But then, what else do I use? Since moving to Unit, they've got a denoising tool called Neat Video that I've always wanted to use, but we've never had the license for it where I've worked before. So that's really useful. But again, you can integrate that into Flame now, so that's kind of like a Flame plugin. And yeah, I think that's about it. But the thing with Flame, and I think why it's so widely used for commercials, is because you can pretty much do everything within Flame. You can do grading in it, you can do compositing in it, you can do timeline, text, putting titles on things. You can do high-end compositing. So right. I think in general, that's why Flame's so good, because you don't need to jump into other programs as much as you would do normally, I guess. So, and that's why I think that's why it's still used, because it's really fast. Well, relatively, it's really fast compared to using multiple programs and, having one person doing this, one person doing that. And I think, again, going back to, flame ops, you need to be versatile, because you need to know a bit about tracking, you need to know a bit about grading. Well, you need to know a lot about all of these things, really. Right. But yeah, it encompasses all of these different skill sets within one, and Flame does that. So yeah. So as I say, I use a few other things like Mocha, but yeah, mainly I just use Flame, to be honest.
Nice. So is there beyond this this current lockdown? I mean, or within this lockdown, you're currently working remotely, right? From home.
Yes.
How has this coronavirus situation how's that impacted your workflow? And is what are the positives and what are the negatives that you're experiencing?
Well, I don't know. For me, and again, like the whole why I love working in TV post production, or be it commercials or film, is the people. All the people are great. It's rare that you don't get on with anyone. Everyone, and that's what I miss. I miss being in being in a place where there's people, and you can share ideas and talk to people. That's what I miss the most, and I like going to work. So yeah, so that's what I miss, and I can't wait to get back into work. And
is there anything that you're liking or would like to carry forward once this is over from this experience, or is it all bad?
I don't know. I think, well, I live on my own, so that's not. I'm always going to be pretty down on this thing, because I've been alone in my isolation station now for I don't know how many weeks it is. 8 weeks. Is it
I've lost it. If anybody in the chat can tell us how long it's been in the UK with this lockdown.
I think it'll be 8 weeks on the 20. It'll be 2 months on the 23rd. I think. I don't hold me to that. I think. So yeah. So I just miss talking to people. I miss. As I say, going back to when I first started. I mean, I started as a runner in Soho. First was getting jobs in Soho when I was about 15. So, without wanting to sound too kind of, too like trendo or whatever, I love Soho, and being in central London is part of me. Yeah. And I think I find inspiration in that, just being in the hustle and bustle of things, being around creative people. Mm-hmm. And I think, being at home, you're not in that creative environment, and it kind of just feels like, you're working in your front room. Well, I am working in my front room. So, And I think that impinges on your, well, for me, I think a lot of people like working from home, but I like going to work because it separates your work. When you're in work, you want to work. When you're at home, you want to chill, or you want to cook, or you want to watch a film. And I think that's what I don't like about it. There's no separation.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking about that yesterday, about, wow, it's been a while since you've had that. It's like the lack of, because you think, oh, this is okay, I can actually do this, I can pretty much manage this. And then you kind of remember what it's like to have like surprise stimulation like within the day, and the mix of, like you said, the hustle and bustle of seeing people that at work, or somebody introducing those things. And it is good to, even if you just work from home all the time, as I mostly do, it is good to just have that option. It's becoming difficult to remember what that's like. I wonder what we're all going to be like when we go back out. I'm definitely
not able to talk to each other or anything.
Yeah. It's not all kumbaya down here, down my way. It's there's still a lot of tension going on. I don't know, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I think going back to what you said earlier, sorry to interrupt. Like, I think communication is a big part of. I think verbal communication is a big part of post production. I don't know, just being with people, I feel just feels better, and everything takes a lot longer because everything's second hand. You're sending an email to someone, you're waiting for the response to come back. You're calling someone, but you can't see what you're both talking about at the same time, and that's kind of what I don't like about it big time.
Yeah.
You know, everything takes longer, and yeah, there's not the interaction that there once was.
Wow, crazy. Yeah, Nick's just said lockdown. It's day 63, apparently. Oh God. Lily has asked. Sorry, Dane. Thanks for reminding me there. Dane always giving me a hard time. Lily asks, how has your job impacted how you watch commercials, film, and TV outside of work? Is there anything where you like run up to the screen and like try to analyze things and you go like, this, I can see this here I see somebody's hand in this. Has it ruined some film and television for you? Or
well, that's a really good question actually, because I think I don't think it's ruined it for me.
it's ruined for
It's ruined it for people that have to sit with me when I go off on one about something I notice, basically.
Yes. You're like, I can see their fingerprints all over this.
Yeah, or like it'll be like, you know, there's a loose mat there's a dodgy track, or, you know, something, you know, they haven't tracked that in right, or the lighting's not right on that, or something. So I think, or even, yeah, just things like that, or, you know, the grade doesn't match between two shots or something like that I'll notice straight away. So yeah, I think it's probably ruined it more for people that have to sit with me when I'm talking about it than me.
Does it torture you, or does it delight you? Just, yes, or you're like, I'm totally out of it. I'm out of it. I need to leave the room. The spell's broken.
It doesn't ruin it for anything for me. You know, it kind of, I don't know. Maybe it makes me feel a bit smug that I can clock someone else's error. I don't know.
Yeah, but just remember, you're going to be scrutinized too. Let's go back to some of those VFX passes.
It's all of. I've got three brothers that also work in post production.
Oh, okay.
So one's a colorist, one's an online editor, and one's works in the machine room. So I think if you were to sit down with us and watch a film, it would be probably the worst experience ever, because all we do is chat about the techie side of things, the grades.
It's starting to make sense now of why you left those behind, because they all seem to do all the other jobs that you used to do. And that's why you had to leave. You're like, nope, forget it.
Well, I'm the oldest, so I did them all first.
Ooh, oh my God, you are that annoying one now. In watching a movie. I love it. Sorry, now I'm thinking of my brother now, which is a weird thing. God, I can't imagine what it must be like having brothers. What is it like having siblings work in this industry? Do you guys get along? Have you ever worked in the same companies before?
Well, I could go right back. So, like, my mum and dad are separated. So my brothers, they're half brothers on my dad's side, and then I have two sisters on my mum's side. So my two sisters, they work in production.
Oh my God!
So they work on like Top Gear and Britain's Got Talent at the moment, I think. Well, not really, because nothing's shooting at the moment. Oh. And then all my brothers, we work in post production. So yeah, and then my mum works for MTV. So it's a bit of a kind of a family industry, really.
Wow. God, Christmas with you guys, that must be crazy, because nobody understands when I talk to them. Nobody cares, actually, if I talk to anybody in my family about what we do. But you guys must tear film and TV apart when you're together.
Well, no, but it's good, because, you know, we're all really close. Well, obviously, you know, my sisters and my brothers, they're from two different families, really. But I mean, me and my brothers, you know, we all work in Soho, so we're all really close. We go out for drinks on Friday, and, you know, yeah, it's really nice. You know, that there's I think it's definitely brought us closer. That there's a common interest. You know. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about my own.
I have worked with two of my brothers before as well.
Really?
Houses, yeah.
Nice. That's pretty cool. I just wish I had something that I could relate to my brother with. Oh, I'm just getting all morose now. Going here now. We're on the psychiatrist couch on a Wednesday afternoon. How about you guys? Does anybody have any siblings that work in this industry as well? Dane, what about your brothers? Are they all still in Australia? Sorry, totally lost gone on a complete tangent here. So
Yeah.
going forward, do you have are there any jobs that there's a certain genre or a certain type of job that you would like to tackle in the future, that you're looking forward to maybe sinking your teeth into in the future? I mean, you've already worked in so many different things. Is there like a genre or something that you have in mind? You're like, God, I really want to do that one day.
I don't know. I guess now I've kind of, you know, where I worked before in commercials, it was in an agency, so it was quite a small department. Now I've moved to unit, and they have, you know, the whole kind of spectrum of services that they offer for commercials. So you've got audio, grading, VFX, CG. So what I want to do, what I hope to do, is I want to work more with kind of CG live action interactions. Is what kind of what appeals to me. You know, just pushing yourself. You know, which is something I've done before, really. And I've done a few little bits and pieces, but not like a big job that's a kind of mishmash of CG and live action. You know, that's kind of half and half or something. That's what I really would like to push myself to get involved in. Yeah. So that's kind of my goal. Yeah.
I think that's cool. I mean, have you got anything that you're currently working on? I know that you're waiting on something later. Is there anything that you can discuss that you guys are on? You're not all on remote shot productions at the moment, are you, or what?
Well, no. So I've got my kind of setup that I'm working on at the moment. It actually kind of, you know, I've got a monitor, and I've got all my input devices like my graphics tablet and whatnot, and that kind of goes down the pipe, down the internet, to my flame machine at work, and then the pictures back. So I'm working remotely kind of that way at the moment. But jobs I'm working on at the moment, I guess I've done it's quite hard because I've literally just joined the companies at 3 weeks before the lockdown. So I was kind of like the new boy that was never seen, to a degree. So I'm just trying to like build up my profile within the company and stuff like that, and get my face out and about. So I've been doing, I did a little kind of cereal bar commercial a couple of weeks ago. And my main thing that I'm working on at the moment, I think it might be coming up in the feed, is just these Dove kind of commercials, coronavirus commercials.
Yeah, tell us a bit about these. I've got them on the screen now.
Well, yeah, so this is kind of, we kind of did, I think I did it in the second or third week of lockdown, we started them. Yeah. So they have been turning these commercial rounds. I think each country has a slightly different one. They have different doctors. So it's just, you can see it now, up there now. It's the faces of all the health workers, you know, doctors, nurses, carers, who have all been working, you know, really hard in helping with the coronavirus. And obviously it's for Dove, it's a skincare brand. So, I mean, I think you can see on their faces, they've got like bruises and welts and stuff like that from where they've been wearing their personal protection equipment all day. So yeah, I've mainly been doing lots of versions of those for different countries. Wow. And then again, going in, you know, say, you know, you wouldn't think of it, but, you know, quite a lot of work, you know, has gone into these, you know, like grading and making it so you can see the titles, because obviously there's, you know, pingy highlights on their skin and stuff like that. So you might have to just dial down some of those highlights underneath the text and stuff like that. So pretty straightforward, but you know, it's quite
interesting to see. Obviously, it's a Dove commercial, so it falls into the thing of I guess beauty, but it's actually bringing out different characteristics in the skin and face detail and stuff than your usual thing. Was that an interesting challenge in itself?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that as you're saying, you know, most kind of cosmetics adverts, they want everyone to look attractive, and it's to show, you know, that what your product can do and make you look beautiful and stuff like that. Whereas I guess, you know, the kind of tone they've taken with this campaign is, look, you know, everyone, I guess, is, you know, suffering at this time. You know, even if something makes you look ugly, you're still beautiful and a hero in other people's eyes, I guess, is what they're going for. Yeah, so they wanted to kind of keep it looking pretty raw, basically.
Yeah, I mean they also do look pretty good. I mean, this is great eyebrows in there, guys. I really there is that. So.
It's only into the eyebrows.
Good eyebrow action, guys. Not just heroes, but fabulous eyebrows as well. Should make light of that. What am I doing? Sorry, guys. If you have any other questions, thank you so much for chipping in the chat. Really appreciate it. Just kind of experimenting, popping it all down there for you. If you have any other questions before we go, because I realize I've taken more than an hour of Ben's time already, and he's probably got work piling up in his front room. Get them in. But quickly, I would like to remind you all, of course, the natural thing of subscribe and follow. It really is appreciated. We would love to reach that 1,000 or something one day, but also look each other up and add each other maybe on things like the dots or on Instagram, things like that. Remember those handles that I shared earlier on for units thing, where you can see more of Ben's work as he continues working on projects there. That's unit.tv, and then the Instagram handle of units_studios. Ben's, of course, go follow him on Instagram. Send him a message. Tell him that you loved his chat. Ask him really technical questions about what are legal color things on color spaces. Actually, on that, I would like to know: is there color considerations for just publishing for the internet, or is it just covered just as a safety? Or is it just like, no, it's fine, we don't need that process?
I mean, I think going without wanting to bore everyone too much. So the color space of computer is RGB, sRGB, sorry, which is very similar to Rec 709, which is the same as TV. So they're quite similar, so almost identical.
Fair enough. Well handled. Well, thank you. For that. Dane's dropping his Instagram there. Dane Armour, good plug there. Dane Previs Paris with Machine. Yes, Dane's here every day, every week. God bless you, Dane. Great chap. Thanks, guys. If you don't have any other questions, I am definitely going to let Ben go. But Ben, I would hope that you've liked coming on here. I would really love to check in with you again. Once this corona thing is kind of behind us, and we can check and maybe drill down into a little bit more of your work. If you'd be up for that, would you be cool with that?
By all means, it's been really good fun, and thank you for having me. I hope I haven't, it's been interesting and helpful, and just, got to glean some good information out of it.
It's been really good, and I will absolutely take you up on that offer to sit in on your your flame suite there.
I mean, I've got so much pent up social energy. I can't wait to go out and meet people and stuff like that again. So well, definitely.
And also, of course, Unit have just had a big. Have you guys finished works there, or did works have to stop there in the renovation as well?
I don't know. I mean, I went in. I had to go in for a day to do something that I couldn't do from home at work about 2 weeks into the lockdown, and I think they were. I don't know. I don't know. But I can imagine they're probably. I mean, I haven't been into this for ages, so I don't really know about the thing. But I know they're doing up the ground floor, and it's going to look great when they're finished.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be awesome.
It's a great building anyway, and it's going to look even better, I think.
Absolutely. And of course, there will be Victoria, and then we will be checking out that ground floor when we all back together, and we'll have a lovely party there, and we'll all get to just mingle, and you can come on down and ask Ben all these kinds of questions. So it'll be
real part-time questions.
Yes. Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you, Ben, so much for this. I really appreciate it. Guys, please let him know. Drop him a message. It's either in the chat or privately. I'm sure he would appreciate it. Say hi and give him a follow. And if you haven't... we will also be talking to Ben's colleague, which you can kind of see below me, Jamie Thomas, who's a sound designer at at Units as well. He'll be here next Wednesday, I think. Tomorrow will be Anna Rhodes, who's a production designer at Wizzo. So definitely come back. Go and stick reminders on those things. But Ben, I don't know what you're going to do. What are you going to do with the rest of your day?
I think I've got a little bit of work to do. I've got to do a few more of those Dove films.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, hopefully it won't take me too long and I can enjoy a bit more of the beautiful weather outside.
Nice one, man. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and thank you guys as well for tuning in. And with that, I will say adios and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Bye.